Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another live session with FASA. I'm Romany Thresher, and joining me today is Willem Hardhoff. Willem loves his family, interacting with people and doing beautiful digital business. Willem believes that things should be simple and straightforward, and therefore he likes to shoot from the hip. Willem sees himself as somewhat of a mountain goat as he loves spending time at altitude, depreciating his trail running shoes and solving complex problems. Willem is qualified as a chartered accountant a few months after the whole world had thought that the computers will switch off the lights. I'd like to know when that was. Fortunately, this never happened, and so he was able to complete 20 rewarding years at one of the big four accounting firms. Willem spent the last 11 of those 20 years as an expatriate in Lagos, Nigeria, gaining invaluable experience and knowledge about how to develop, drive, and execute business strategy. During this time, Willem was supported by his valuable team of approximately 100 accounting professionals in providing high-quality assurance services to numerous subsidiaries of large listed multinational companies. Willem returned to South Africa in 2014 doing some freelance work, and in 2016 he co-founded Dough Getters Accounting with his current partner Murray Braniston. And together they seek to play a leading role in shaping the future of accounting in South Africa and the rest of the world. Good morning, Willem, and how are you today?
Hi there, good morning, and thank you very much for including me in this process.
Good. And good morning to everyone out there in the virtual world. If you're around, please let us know, say hello. Let us know if you can comment, because sometimes I find this is a new tool we are trying out and somehow the comments seem to disappear into the ether zone. So if it does, we're not ignoring you. If we don't respond, it's because we're still learning the new tools. But good to have you all out there. If you have somebody who's interested in franchising or franchise opportunities, please share this with your people. And if you're watching from YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. So good morning, and let's get started. So we're talking about Dough Getters franchising, which is mainly about a lot about cloud computing, which is the main focus of today's topic. Yeah, what is what is the cloud?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I can assure you, if I tell a bad dad joke right now, it might not go down as well. So I'll just leave it at that. But I think when we talk about the cloud in a business context, it really just talks about moving your business from an analog to a digital basis. In other words, eliminating paper, automation of routine tasks and techniques, and ultimately greater efficiency so that people can move away from wasting time on mundane tasks.
Okay. Is cloud because I think a lot of people think about files sitting in a cloud in the ether space, and where are those, where are they hosted? What's the security? I don't know. For me, I'm separate. I've gone from analog to digital, that's for sure, but I'm not sure I'm in the cloud.
Well, I think most of us are actually already in the cloud, and many people perhaps don't know that or realize it. I think you just have to ask yourself how many people have Facebook accounts, and I'd imagine our community today all are on Facebook, or who's got a Netflix or a Showmax account. That's basically living in the cloud. And so what we find when we talk to businesses out there about the cloud is security usually is the most misunderstood concept when we talk about cloud, but also people don't really understand it, that they're already in the cloud. So it is a very good question that you're asking.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I never thought about it that way. I just thought I was in the virtual world. That's what I thought I was. And okay, so what are the pros and cons then? Especially from a security point of view, because obviously businesses are using the cloud in what sense, and how are they using that?
So I think from a traditional perspective, people are very used to the idea of having a physical bricks and mortar office building where they can go to every day to go and do their work, which means that you would have to open a door to get in. You'd also only allow certain people to come in and go out, and you've got security tags or cards that they use to access the building. People use computers inside that building, And traditionally speaking, companies will have their own service where they would host their data and that people will use to collaborate with. So the cloud really is taking all of that and putting it in a virtual space so that people are able to work remotely, not having to go to and all that. So I think the pros and cons from that perspective, from a positive perspective, in my mind, it's obvious that it saves a lot of time. Potentially, it saves a lot of time if you do it correctly, and therefore you can do a lot more things a lot faster. The one of the downsides, for example, is that perhaps from a human to human interaction perspective, you might compromise on that and might give up something that you might necessarily have when you're working together, in a building. From a security perspective, that's also a very long conversation that we can have, on that. The positive side of security is when you're in the cloud, you are essentially outsourcing a lot of your security to people that perhaps are able to do a much better job of it than what you might be able to do also at a greater scale. So there's a lot of things we can say about that. And I wonder, it looks like we have lost you.
No, you haven't lost me yet. Don't worry, you haven't lost me yet. I was just wondering more about the security factor, because obviously a lot of people have a lot of information stored in the cloud. Now, recently, you've been helping quite a lot of businesses during lockdown going over to the cloud. Is this something that businesses just had to embrace and make work doing, or is it an increase? What has been your experience with regards to people embracing the cloud, especially during this lockdown period?
In my experience, before the lockdown started, there were a lot of businesses out there and people thinking about moving to the cloud because it's been talked about quite widely. Lockdown pushed a lot of people to make that decision to go to the cloud a lot quicker. It forced their hand in a way because people realized that the effects of lockdown, some of the effects is no business, or we can't do what we used to be doing. So how can we do that in the new normal, as it is also referred to? And so the cloud has been one of the ways in which people were able to get back on track and at least get going again. So we've seen a lot of those businesses coming to us saying, help us. What do we do? How do we go to the cloud? What are the first steps that we can take?
Okay, and with regards to, because I know in my own personal experience, I've been wanting people to move on to the, into the virtual world, and there's been so much resistance because especially the working from home concept, I really enjoy the working from home. I think it gives better quality of life. It's good for the environment, and yet people have been so resistant to moving over. And obviously now with the lockdown, people have completely been forced into a new paradigm shift. Is it very difficult for people to learn and embrace?
I think it's like any change. Initially, it might seem difficult. The most important thing would be to understand why you're making the change and then drive it. And then it's like learning any new habit. You get used to it over time once you understand why you're doing it and you're doing it regularly.
And have you found people struggled with it a lot or not?
Yes, no, I think it's difficult. We are creatures of habit. We are so used to doing things in a certain way, and so to all of a sudden work alone in your home remotely, not having that human touch, could be one of the things that people might find difficult. The other thing is, if you are used to working with physical pen and paper, physical lever arch files, to convert that thinking into a digital space, what that would look like and how you work effectively. It's not easy at first, but again, I think once you understand how that would work in the cloud and what that would look like, to make the change is a matter of will and regular practice.
Okay, that doesn't sound too bad at all. We're having some people just popping in and saying over, yes, Derek, I'm falling through the floor today. I don't know, my webcam doesn't want to stay there. So good morning to you. And Melissa says that storing our photos in the cloud on Facebook. I suppose we are. It's like storing your information on a server. And most of the hosting servers are quite secure, which is quite nice. Their job is to make sure that their servers don't get hacked. So I guess it's safer than your own computer at home in a way. And it's also kind of like information. I mean, for me, I've got hard drives, a lot of hard drives, because all my information is sitting in the hard drive. And then I think, okay, but now I need that stuff over there, and which hard drive is it on, where is it? So I would imagine the cloud removes that.
So let's quickly talk about the security aspect. Again, let's just look at it traditionally. There's two important components to security that one needs to consider. There's the physical securing of your premises or your data. That's the key in the door. That's the server room. There's a whole host of principles that one needs to take into account to physically protect your server. Then there's the logical security question. And logical is all about gaining virtual access with a username and a password. So from a traditional perspective, those are the key things one would need to consider. When you move to the cloud, what you're basically saying is that practical or that physical security is what you outsource. You outsource that to somebody who specializes in that aspect of data security, and that's the only thing they do. And when you move to the cloud, what it means is that the service providers that operate in the cloud, like Netflix, like all the other cloud-based apps that are out there, their business is about operating in the cloud, and therefore security is absolutely premium for them. And how that then would work is they would not only have one server location in the world, they will have multiple servers around the world. And what then happens is data gets stored on all of those servers around the world continuously. So not only is it about backup, but if in one location a server is destroyed for whatever reason, there's already multiple other copies of that same data elsewhere. From a logical perspective, in terms of who's able to gain access to the data, because that is what they specialize in, they make use of very, very advanced data encryption techniques and methods in order to prevent unauthorized access. That then brings it back to you as the end user, and you still have to manage your passwords and your user access. And so the only person who can gain access to your data would be the ones you give your password and your username and password to. And the general principles around protecting your passwords will always remain the same. And as a matter of fact, there's even apps out there to help you create very complicated and remember complicated passwords. So I think there's a lot of education regarding the demystification of what it is to work in the cloud that needs to happen in order for people to embrace, this kind of technology.
That's interesting. Because if I think about a website, they have to put it on a server. So your server versus a cloud server and a web hosting server, are they different, or is it kind of a similar setup?
I must be honest with you. I'm not actually very a tech savvy person, although you might not believe me. So that's one of the questions I might not necessarily be able to answer with a lot of confidence. The way I look at that, I mean, a server is a server, and you store data on it. Whether you own your own server, whether it's a server that is shared amongst a small community of people in a specific location, or whether it's a server that is run by a third party and people can access it in the way that I've just described. Okay. I think the most important thing with servers really is the question of who can access it, and that's where the logical, so to speak, access controls is important to remember.
Okay, and is it expensive to move to a server?
So you mean moving to the cloud?
Yeah, to move to the cloud, yes.
I would say no, it's not expensive. The most costly part of that decision is making the change in your mind that it's the right thing to do, and then whether you've got the appetite to go through the change management. Okay. I believe that everybody's going to go through it eventually. It's not going to be an option for much longer, because that's where the rest of the world is moving. part of the reason why it's happening is simply from an efficiency perspective. It's a lot easier and quicker to do stuff if you're in the cloud. And for companies, one of the things they would have to do to maintain a competitive edge is to bring down their cost of execution, whether that's selling a product, whether it's delivering a service. And so if you're going to still operate in a traditional manner, you are inevitably going to be a lot less efficient than your competition. And that's going to make it increasingly difficult for you to compete at a profitability level.
Is that because of access, or, I mean, I'm just trying to think about efficiency and access. Is that due to access or something else? So what would happen now, let's say the internet crashes and everything goes pear-shaped. What happens to your information?
So if the internet crashes, then I suppose the whole world will come to an end, because nowadays I can't think of anything that's not really tied into the internet. So I think what you are saying is, what if another black swan event happens? Well, we've just gone through a black swan event, and I think very few people could have predicted that it was going to happen in the way that it did. So from that perspective, I don't really have an answer to your question.
Okay. But you should still have a backup, though.
Yeah, so it is a question that we get asked very often, is can you back up the stuff that you have on the cloud? And from my perspective, it kind of defies the logic behind moving to the cloud. I don't think it's very practical. And also, as I've mentioned a few minutes ago, being in the cloud, it's probably more a choice of who's the application, the owner of the application or the business that you're dealing with. Can you trust them? That's again coming back to the question: can you trust Facebook? Can you trust Netflix and whoever else that you are engaging with? Their business model is premised on the fact that they are able to keep your data secure. So for me, it's more a question of, do you want to be in the cloud or do you not want to be in the cloud?
Okay. And I guess it's also a case of choosing the service provider that you're going to use, that they are trustworthy and reliable. And again, it comes down to doing your homework, because today, if you don't do your homework or you don't do your research, you could end up with bad service, bad execution, a lot of things. So that's quite a good point to just remind people of. Ken is saying cloud platforms like AWS, Amazon Web Services is cloud service platform. It is, and Amazon has one of the biggest one where a lot of people use and house a lot of their talks and digital media. It has, which has data centers around the world. It does, very much so. So do you specialize in cloud, offering people cloud system? I take it.
Yes, so first and foremost, our business, Go-Getters Accounting, is a digital business. We've got 17 team members. We don't operate from an office building. Everybody works remotely. I think most people work from their bedroom. No, I'm just joking. But we all work. And so if you were to ask me, take me for a tour through your office, I would probably invite you to a Teams or a GoTo meeting. I would share my screen with you and I would show you a visual illustration of all the apps that we use that manages different aspects of our business and that are all integrated, so that ecosystem helps us to not only regulate the flow of data coming into our virtual office building, but also repurposes data from one point to the next. And that ultimately helps us drive our cash flow.
I must say, I'm quite keen now to maybe explore the cloud, considering that it might make my life easier. Like I said, I've got loads before the cloud. I mean, I've got loads of hard drives with all my work on sitting somewhere. And I'm thinking, I can't remember where I've kept my information. So that could be very valuable. And yes, working from home also, yes, sometimes when it's late at night, it's much cozier to work from your bed than to sit in an office, So work hours and things are different as well. So coming back to Go-Getters, what is the franchise opportunity? Because I believe you have franchise opportunities, and what does that involve?
So with our background, both my partner and I, Murray Barnettson, we decided that we wanna build a business that is obviously, as I said, based in the cloud, that is digital. And the one obvious benefit to that is to be able to run a very low cost business. Your cost is basically your direct cost of execution, and that gives you potential to higher margins. One of the ways in which we want to grow is to enable more people to plug into that idea while owning their own business to provide the same level of service. Now, what we see happening in our industry at the moment is that there seems to be a move towards people wanting to own their own businesses. A lot of people are saying, what's going to drive our economy going forward? And many people say it's small business. The more we speak to people, the more we hear small business is the future of accounting, it's the future of our economy. So within our industry, we're also seeing a big move of accountants wanting to run and operate their own businesses. Now, we've got a lot of experience, not only as accountants, but also in starting up new accounting businesses. And one of the things that we found is that it is extremely, extremely challenging to start a new accounting business from the ground up. We've been there, we've done that. We've made a lot of mistakes. And in making those mistakes, we've also had a lot of learnings. And we then decided to package that and to give an opportunity to other people who want to own their own accounting services and do it in a digital way like we are doing it, to plug in to our system and say, right, show us what you guys have done. We want to do the same thing.
And tell us about what type of person then best suits one of your franchise or the Dough Getters franchise?
Our franchise opportunity is aimed at chartered accountants or professional accountants. So that means that you would already have a number of years experience behind you, and also have written certain exams, got the necessary qualifications, because the core service that we offer is an outsourced bookkeeping, accounting, and tax compliance service. So obviously, you would need to understand debits and credits. And I'm sorry that I'm using those terms in this meeting. Money spent, money received, sorry. And you got to understand something about tax. Be able to do tax compliance, VAT, pay as you earn, payroll. And we find that with the right experience and the right training, you would be well positioned to be able to offer the service at the appropriate level of quality.
And do you offer training?
Absolutely. So our onboarding process for new franchisees is very structured. We've spent a lot of time identifying the key things that need to be done during the onboarding process, because our philosophy is that if you win, then we win. So it's very much a symbiotic relationship. We actually internally don't really talk to each other as a franchisor, franchisee. We like the term family, because that's really what it is. We all work very closely. And one of the other cool things about our franchise network is the fact that we have a lot of cross work that takes place. And that in itself creates a lot of efficiency savings, because person A in location X might have extra capacity, whereas person Y might be overloaded. And so they can also share resources. It really works well at the moment.
Okay. And right, so you work virtually. So basically, if anybody, unlike other franchisors, do you have locations? Because a lot of people will be based in Gauteng or Cape Town, so you can pretty much do this from anywhere in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things we had to spend some time thinking about, because the traditional franchise model is very much a location-based product. Whereas I can sit in George, and I've just, during the lockdown period, I provided a full accounting systems implementation to a farming group in Hazyview. We haven't met each other once. Everything was conducted on the cloud, through the cloud, whichever way you want to look at it, right? And it was a beautiful client experience. So I can sit anywhere and I can provide a service from anywhere, so long as I've got access to the internet. So how we have structured our network is that, yes, location is a factor. So if a new client, for example, were to come through our central marketing machine, we would obviously look at who's based in a specific location, offer that person access to service that client first. But we also take into account unique skills in order to match the client with the franchisee capacity, and other qualitative factors that might be in existence from time to time. So it's a combination of factors. Also, if you're a franchisee who's based in Durban, nothing stops that person from going to Timbuktu to go and do their own marketing campaign to try and get new clients. So it's really just a matter of understanding the model and pursuing a growth in your business that's going to help you maximize your profits and cash flow. And so again, if I can say it again, if the franchisee wins, then everybody else in the group wins.
That makes sense. That makes absolute sense. And hello to Dirk. Good morning, Dirk. Thank you for joining us again. And Conrad Froling has left us a message saying that he bought a Dough Getters accounting franchise in 2019 and he's loving the journey that you've offered them, and the training and guidance is very much hands-on and great. Not regretting this move at all. So thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for that, Conrad. So yes, we are running out of time. If you have any more questions, you're more than welcome to post them in the comment box below. Also, please share this if you know anybody who's an accountant or who's interested in a franchise opportunity. Share this with them throughout Facebook and on the internet and through social media. And I'm just going to thank Willem for joining us. If you would like to get hold of Willem and his team, I've posted a link in the comment box below this interview that you can send them a message should you wish to. Any final thoughts for anyone out there that wants to know more about Dough Getters, Willem? Or cloud computing, should we say?
Yeah, I think as I've said before, being in the cloud is as far as we are concerned, the future of work. We've seen it now with the impact of the hard lockdown. A lot of businesses were impacted negatively because they simply weren't able to work. And yeah, if you wanna know more, please feel free to contact us. We'd love to have a chat with you about what it means to work in the cloud.
And I must say, I have to agree there. I wasn't impacted as much as other businesses. And yes, you can work from anywhere in the world. That's what I love about the virtual world. What I love about the digital world, it can connect you to anyone out there, all sorts of people, all sorts of personalities. So thank you to everyone who joined us today. And just to remind you that FASA is a non-profit organization that protects, lobbies, promotes, and develops ethical franchising across all sectors in South Africa, with specific focus on transformation. FASA offers membership to both existing franchisors and franchisees who supports and runs ethical businesses. Should you wish to know more about what FASA does, you can visit them at www.fasa.co.za. So thank you everyone for joining us, and join us every Tuesday at 10 o'clock where we will be running more talks about franchising opportunities and business in general. Have a super week further. Thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.